Your entire life can change in an instant. So instead of passively taking what you have for granted, be grateful for it and do whatever good you can with it. When I was 27, I flew off a bike and blacked out on the street. In an instant, I fractured my spine and tore the main ligament in my knee. In an instant, the entire trajectory of the next year of my life changed. Earlier this year, the third largest explosion in human history rocked my home city of Beirut. In an instant, 200 people lost their lives and 300,000 people became homeless. I could have easily been one of them. We often forget that death hangs over us. It lingers in the space we cannot touch, and in the blink of an eye, in the flash of a second, it can capture us and strip us bare of the most precious blessing of all, the gift of being alive. Your entire life can change in an instant. So stop taking what you have for granted. Instead, be grateful for it and do whatever good you can with it. Chasing happiness will lead you to misery until you realize that happiness is the way. A few years ago, at a campsite in a music festival, I met a woman in her early 30s who told me that she had yet to find happiness in her life, that she was still chasing and looking for it. Unfortunately, I used to think the exact same. Perhaps that's because modern society conditions us to believe that happiness is a destination we arrive at, the promotion that will wash away all our problems or the freedom we will obtain from leaving a 9-to-5 job. So we now live with this idea. When X happens, I'll be happy. I lived the entirety of the past decade cultivating this toxic mentality, and it affected every major decision I made in my life. I was always chasing the next big thing, in constant pursuit of what's next, never truly indulging in the fullness of what I already had right here, right now. Here's what I want you to realize. Happiness is not a paradise island we must go looking for. Happiness is a deep-rooted rose of contentment that you carry with you everywhere you go. And you are the one who chooses whether or not to water it every morning upon waking up. Your happiness and well-being have nothing to do with how well you think you're doing, how far into the journey you've crossed, or what's coming next. Your happiness and well-being have everything to do with how present, accepting, and content you are with all that is, right here, right now. As per the words of Thich Nhat Hanh, there is no way to happiness. Happiness is the way. If you fail to appreciate this sentiment and continue to chase the big, elusive dream of a distant, happy future, then you'll never experience the self-worth and contentment that can be found in this very moment. And it doesn't take much to be happy. Practice being present. Write down what you're grateful for every morning. Be accepting of whatever happens, and do something every day that brings joy to your heart. These are some of the easy, simple, and practical pieces of advice on how to become happier. If you want to change the trajectory of your life, embrace these rules and apply them. Commitment is what gets you started. Consistency is what gets you somewhere. And persistence is what keeps you going. From the years of 24 to 28, I only talked about becoming an entrepreneur, but I never did. Why? Because back then, all I did was talk, but never do. So, on my 29th birthday, I registered my first company. I committed to becoming an entrepreneur, and that changed the trajectory of my life. 1 year later, on my 30th birthday, I chose to become a writer. I committed to this new vocation, and over the course of that year, I built a system to help me stay consistent. Within 12 months, I published 140 online articles, which took me from 0 views to over 500,000, from 0 followers on Medium to over 6,100, and from 0 newsletter subscribers to over 1,500. What was my secret? I consistently wrote and published 2 to 3 articles per week. Even on the days when I didn't feel like writing, I forced myself to show up, sit on a chair, and write. If you want to change your life around, here's what you must do. Commit to one thing. Stay consistent in it. push through it. Commitment is what gets you started on a new trajectory. Consistency, which is the key to creating long-lasting and sustainable change in life, is what gets you somewhere. And persistence is what keeps you going in spite of adversity.